I'm Elliot Kleinberg, and this is Something Went Horribly Wrong, a blog about bad writing and how to fix it. Segment 43, Lazy. Just after he published Moby Dick, and decades before it would be recognized as a classic, Herman Melville penned a short story called Bartleby the Scrivener. A scrivener, or a scribe, is essentially a public scribbler, similar to what secretaries did before the ease of computers gave lazy bosses no excuse. Reporters are scriveners. They repeat what they see in reports and documents. They try to translate it from the bureaucratic, but sometimes they're, lazy. A lazy reporter might write this. Investigators have cited spatial disorientation in Thursday's fatal crash off San Diego. An enterprising reporter might write this. Socked in by fog in Southern California's notorious June gloom. The pilot in Thursday's fatal crash didn't know which way was up in the moments before he slammed into San Diego Bay, investigators have concluded. The second lead not only imparted more information, it provided a punch that made people want to read the story. A recent article on a 2019 Bahamas helicopter crash listed spatial disorientation, but never said what it is. The reader can kind of guess, but then she'd be doing the reporter's work. How hard would it have been to add the following paragraph, which I included in one of my plane crash stories? Spatial disorientation, a sometimes fatal bane of pilots, in which they lose all visual contact with the ground or ocean and even the horizon, as well as their grip on their speed, location, and direction, and even if they're facing up. Now that not only helps the reader, it provides even more punch. In 2021, we posted segments about disqualifiers, in which writers made fatal mistakes about history, anatomy, and geography. Those subject areas also are rife with examples of writing that isn't so much wrong as lazy. We often have said that good writing is about clarity, and in that vein, we've said that sometimes it's not a matter of using the right word, but rather using a better word. Sometimes you have to try to know the mind of the reader, but we argue that it's better to add a few words for those who aren't sure. Here are some examples where the writer failed to take a few extra minutes to make the story more clear, or just presumed the reader knew what he or she meant, and maybe aggravated the transgression by including unnecessary words. Here's number one. The new restaurant is at 9560 Glades Road, Suite 115. This is in the Boca Raton, Florida area where I live. Well, what you should say is, the new restaurant is on Glades Road, across from the Palm Beach County Library, between Lyons Road and State Road 7. Don't presume your readers, who could live far from the place about which you're writing, have a clue about what the address means. Sure, nowadays they can just look it up on their phone, but anytime a reader has to stop reading your story to look up something you wrote, you have failed. And why bother with the suite number? It's a big strip center. You can't miss it. Number two. Cincinnati police say the shooting suspect had bought his gun in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Well, look at number one. Do people in Cincinnati know where Lawrenceville, Georgia is? Most probably won't. How hard is it to say, bought his gun in the Atlanta suburb of Lawrenceville, Georgia? Number three, Howard Schnellenberger was born on March 16, 1934 in St. Meinrad, Indiana. His parents were German-American. The family eventually moved to Louisville. Okay, my wife is from Indiana, and neither she nor her mother ever heard of St. Meinrad. How about Schnellenberger was born to German-American parents on March 16, 1934 in St. Meinrad, Indiana, about an hour west of Louisville, to where his family eventually moved. Okay, next. Oak Park is about 9 miles from Chicago. I've been in Oak Park. The center of Oak Park might be 9 miles from the center of Chicago. But if you walk east from Oak Park Village Hall, you cross into the city of Chicago in about 8 blocks. Say Oak Park is about 9 miles west of downtown Chicago, and you'll be in good shape. And yeah, we did drop in west for clarity. Number 5, police said the man fractured his ulna. Do you know what an ulna is? Well, why don't you just say, police said the man fractured his forearm. Done. Number 6, in 1990, President George H.W. Bush loved to go bone fishing in the Keys with the likes of Brian Mulrooney. Do you know who Brian Mulroney is? Well, a lot of people do, but not everybody. How about in 1990, Bush loved to go bone fishing in the Keys with the likes of then Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. Adding a few extra words really helps. Number 7, when he arrived in Washington to take his seat in Congress, Anderson moved into a townhouse once owned by Alger Hiss. You know who Alger Hiss is? Well, I'm old enough to kind of remember, but not really. When he arrived in Washington to take his seat in Congress, Anderson moved into a townhouse once owned by Alger Hiss, the federal staffer accused in 1948 of having spied for the Soviet Union. Next time, we're going to talk about stew. I'm Elliot Kleinberg. Visit ekfla.com. That's ekfla.com.